Janky AF presents It's Cruisin' for Cars with Corn. And welcome back to another episode of Cruising for Cars with Corn. On the background display right now we have this beautiful Santa Fe locomotive. I believe this is an F unit, but it could be an E unit. My favorite locomotive style of all time, aside from steam engines, the Norfolk and Western J-Class, particularly the 611 obviously being maybe my all-time favorite since I was a little kid. I got a chance to ride on the 611 with my father last year, and that was quite a treat, even though it was maintaining very low speeds, but still, just to hear that whistle was really visceral and incredible. Anyhow, we're going to do manual transmissions only. I was just watching a couple of videos, a Jay Leno video of actually a 1979 Trans Am, and a couple others, and fairly obvious topic, I suppose, within the automotive community, but there really is something to rowing through the gears. It's a cliche, but it's very, very true. So we're going to search for only manual transmission cars. We're going to start off in the great city of Buffalo, New York. And this is fairly easy. Let's go to cars and trucks, and then we're going to set our transmission as manual only, and then do price low to high. And there we have it. Now right here, maybe it reset when I did price. Yeah. I was going to say Monte Carlo manual, I doubt that. Oh, I've seen this 2000 Camaro before. $700. I think this used to be $900. I think they've lowered it. 5-speed standard, 6-cylinder, runs, drives, shifts, stops. It needs work. Belt is rotted. Oh, interior is rough. Driver floor pan is going. But for the 700 firm, I'll do the belt, oil change, battery, go through brakes, and throw a tank of gas in it, which would still make it a nice cheap fixer car. Must sell ASAP. No room. Don't want to leave it to scrap. Good project car. Good fun car. Wow. Well, if he's willing to do all that and getting it into the basically running condition, then for $700, you got yourself a running manual transmission Camaro. Now that's a lot of fun. You could do a great paint job on that. And these Camaros have, and Firebirds, I should say. I do kind of prefer the Firebirds, but these have really grown on me over the years. I always liked the RS package with the spoiler, and now I'm not a big spoiler guy, but on this car, it kind of just, it worked. It's like some sort of aftermarket rims, but, 2-seat manual transmission, rear-wheel drive, hard to beat that for $700. I wouldn't negotiate on that. Now this Capri, I could tell you stories about this Capri. I love these Mercury Capris. They were made in Australia. They were supposed to compete with the Miata, although unfortunately they were front-wheel drive. But I've looked at this car hundreds of times, and it's for me, perfect combination of this beautiful sort of almost electric blue exterior with a tan top. Now these Capris, they made them from 91 to 94. 94, the brake lights changed. I like this super 80s, 90s, like everything is gridded with these brake lights, but I love the way this car drops off in the rear, and the wide angle lens obviously makes it more so. But I'd really like to drive one of these. Now these came with a spoiler too, and I think they look so much better without it. Personally, this little third brake light's almost like an afterthought there, but it's probably right around the time when these started getting mandated. Pop-up headlights, which is like a nice exotic feature. And there's something about buying a car from a marque that doesn't exist anymore. Mercury's got phased out by Ford. This little badging right here, I love the location of the badging. I love the way these little, I guess, fog lights you would call them. This little line weaves right into this little dip with it's an air intake for your, I don't know if you'd call that an air intake, but anyways, a scoop where the air can get in there, flows. It's almost like a little smiley face too. I love it. It's a very fun, friendly car, These rims look aftermarket, but they fit very, very nice. Beautiful little body line contour there. So, the fact this has been up so long, bought this from a friend with the best intentions. I would quote-unquote get to it. His father, looks like it's on a used car lot too. His father, I believe, his original owner, kept a garage and took care of it, so it seems to be in great condition for its age. I will get it running for you if you like. I don't know what that means. I drove it to West Side from Wheatfield, drove fine, needed tune-up, and I have not touched it since, sitting inside 3 years. Starts it up, drives great. Tactile top works, never tried it. Some issues with dry moldings, tops, windows. I don't really care about that. My Aerostars, all the moldings and plastic and rubber gaskets are all shot to shit. Pardon my French. And water has gotten in the past when it was outside, so maybe a little mold going on. I can show it to you anytime, so call me. I want this sold. I really got to call and see about this. It's funny. I would see multiple postings of the same car, anywhere from $1,200 to $1,800. Really cool interiors on these Mercury Capris. Let's look up a interior of this car. And a lot of these were often dirty, but nice, just cloth seats, the gray color scheme here. It's an automatic, but same wheel as the Ford Aerostar. This wheel is on everything. Second generation, post facelift Aerostars, all of this wheel. These nice two-tone cloth seats, though. A little bit of a wraparound, driver-oriented dashboard. I think they look great in this white too. I think just like a really underrated, fun, convertible runaround car. Here's one in very nice condition. Look at that. When they're really clean, they're really simple, very beautiful. So I keep just telling myself I'm going to call that number. But, we just got a bunch of snow, so winter's coming and all that. But they made a hardtop for it, which I think looks pretty great. Just a really cool looking, fun car. They only made them 4 years, not that many out there. They made an XR2, which was the turbo model, and that was supposedly pretty zippy. I think like close to 130 horsepower. Just a lovely, lovely car. So maybe I'll call that person eventually. This I've seen. This is pretty great. PT Cruiser. Now, not a lot of people know that PT Cruisers came in a manual transmission. Stick shift PT Cruiser, custom paint, Florida car, driven less than one winter a year, runs and drives, oil change regularly, 150K, 1,800. So pushing the envelope price range, but I mean, not really. If you just want a driver, probably a pretty good deal, honestly. Stick shift 06 Fusion. Had no idea these were made in a stick shift. Need gone, manual transmission, good clutch, starts every time, no CEL. Not sure what that means. Solid vehicle and frame, rusted rockers. Some of these, back and look at that stick shift Fusion. Huh. How about that? A lot of these cars were still offered manuals not that long ago, and they were usually cheaper than the automatics too. It's kind of like the base model. Saturn View. I think I did know that these came in a manual. Now these, I think I've talked about it on this program before that. Some of these Views had Honda engines and I believe transmissions as well. This looks like the facelifted version. But there it is, stick shift Saturn View. Isn't that cool? Now, is this a four-wheel drive or not? Front-wheel drive, yeah. I will let the pictures talk for themselves. Absolutely amazing condition. $2,000, 170,000 on it. But Audi A6, Isuzu Rodeo. I've seen this before. That's nice. I have been having a little hankering for Mitsubishi Eclipses lately, but I'm such a stickler for that sort of original Fast and Furious body style. Anything after that, not super into. Alright, we got a 86 Trans Am. That's pretty cool. Mustang. Oh wow, is this really a manual? I've been getting really into these FX35 and 45s. Man, when these things came out, they were a revelation. I still think they're one of the best looking SUVs ever made. Totally, rounded, but that, just the way it sits with that sort of muscular rear end and the proportions, man, when these things came out, I thought they were so cool. sort of like squat in the rear. It's wide. You know, it kind of reminds me of a lot of Mazda's styling, actually. The CX-5 and CX-3 and all that. Oh my goodness. Oh, of course. Here you go. Okay. Manual transmission. My tuchus. Okay. This is one of my biggest pet peeves. Look at this lovely copper interior, two-tone with the black wrapper on top, though. That is beautiful. Now, why would you say it's a manual? Probably because it's got some little Tiptronic here thing, right? You slide it in there and you can shift the gears. Okay, well, I'm sorry. That's not a manual transmission. Oh, that had me going there if they made those in manual. GB. Alright, we're getting a little pricey. 84 vet, 10 grand. Alright, let's go to New Hampshire. I was having some nice finds in New Hampshire. So, cars and trucks. Go low to high. I find New England has a lot of really great cars in it. It's too bad that they have such rust issues, but I feel like people in Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Vermont, we'll go to Vermont next maybe. You know, there's a lot of car enthusiasts in that area. Jay Leno, of course, famously from Massachusetts. Ooh, look at this. I think I've seen this. Must be a bunch. Beautiful classic Honda hatchback, much loved by its owner, still has a lot to give to someone new. I bought it in '97. It has been a great car, but I cannot repair it and cannot continue to park it years. In good running condition, I use every day when it failed inspection in April because of rust on the front undercarriage. Now that's such a crapshoot because maybe a welder can go in there and, you know, fix it up for not a lot of money, but the only other known issue, but maybe you're it for a whole new frame, in which case, the only other known issue at the time was that the hood release did not work. Major auto body repair work done. Rear and front quarter panels. 500 best offers, the model with the rear window wiper and the high quality paint. Well, I'm sorry to say the paint does not look that great. I've been really getting into Honda Civic hatchbacks. We'll see if the one in Vermont's still there. Just again, simple interior. I like these cloth interiors in the 90s, and something about these Honda Civic hatchbacks, like through multiple generations, they always just look so good. Again, the proportions, the way it sits, there's just something so timeless and classic about these things. I love these are hubcaps or wheels. I can't even tell. They might be wheels. I like these old 90s style wheels where it's a wheel, it's an alloy wheel, but they're not like, you know, these tiny little slivers just to show off the brake calipers or whatever. You know, a lot of Lamborghinis in the, you know, 80s, a lot of Maseratis, all these old, you know, supercars of the time, all had this style wheels. Corvettes had those beautiful wheels in the early 90s. So, I mean, you know, a lot of miles, but potentially a cool project if you can get the sort of frame issue going on. Here's a Cabrio convertible. I love these Cabrios, but for some reason German colors always just scare me. Took this car in on trade. I removed the exhaust from my GTI from the catback. I'm selling the car as is. I was told the car runs and drives, but I now have the key. One can easily be made with a VIN number and title of Volkswagen for cheap money. It is not an expensive chip key. A basic door ignition key can be made through their parts department. I personally have not seen it run, but I did take a sticker in 2019. Car has brand new black rims, tires that are worth well over $800 themselves. They just need to be cleaned. The car has a very expensive adjustable coilover suspension system worth $1,000. Gee, it seems like for the parts alone you could make your money back on this. Black on black convertible, originally listed at $1,200, just have it produced. Wow, $600. Boy, again, you're gambling here, but if it does indeed run, you know, I'm not a huge, I like black rims, but recently in the past, let's say 5 years, black rims have become so ubiquitous that now manufacturers are offering them. And there's like a gimmick, like Nissan has this like midnight edition, all this stuff, and they've just gotten so ubiquitous that, you know, it's like the new silver. Oh, 4 stud wheels, that's interesting. But certainly on a car of this age, you know, the black on black on black looks pretty darn nice, I have to say. Boy, for 600 bucks, that's a pretty good gamble, because you feel like at the very least you could strip it, and it's all for parts if you really get in over your head. You know, gotta have a trailer and all that, and then the whole thing with the key is a little suspect. You're definitely taking a chance, but okay, a Rendezvous. I'm sure this does not have a manual transmission. Ah, boy. If only, right? Now, these Rendezvous famously were the same thing as a Pontiac Aztek. Not many people know that. It doesn't get talked about a lot, but the Rendezvous, you can kind of see an Aztek in it, right? It's this sort of very high belt line. Look at the swooping line there. That is so cool. Look at how low down that goes, all the way down, and the brake light just tucks in. I think these Rendezvous are totally passed over by people. I think it's a great looking car. I love these little touches, like this little sort of cutout here. It almost looks like you're looking at something that's not really there. How sort of seamlessly it fits in there. By that I mean it just looks like this. Someone almost photoshopped a completely different thing in there, but somehow it, you know, the curves all bind together very well. It's almost an optical illusion there. I always think this nice two-tone. I always thought these things were so cool looking, and the name Rendezvous. What a great name for a vehicle, you know. Only 2 pictures, unfortunately. Yeah, if those things had a manual transmission, how cool would that be? I've seen a couple of these, and I gotta say, you know, a lot of these Nissans with their CVT, continuously variable transmissions, I think they have all sorts of issues. I just think it was a cool idea, but that wasn't super well worked out with the engineering. But I always thought these Versas, particularly the hatchbacks, were really cool looking. And, you know, for $1,250, it's 171,000 miles, quite a bit of miles, but I will say a little. Let's see if we can get it. Yeah, I think these are a very cool looking car. They almost look like those Leafs. My folks have a Nissan Leaf, and the big honking headlights there that, you know, something, it's a cliche, it's so ugly, it's good looking, but I wouldn't say it's ugly, it's just quirky, you know, but I really like the stance of it. These look really great in red. Now look at this. Janky. Especially with the steel wheels. I would almost do monochrome on this and paint the steel wheels red. Do a little body touch up, maybe do some sort of splatter paint scheme on it to keep the flaws, but then give it a little bit more character. These big side view mirrors, but I think these things look so great. I've been into red cars lately. I'm not usually a huge red car fan, but on something that's more subdued, you know, aesthetically, or bright red kind of works. I like how it's a 4-door. I like this big long line here that kind of tails off, this straight window here. I wish I had a picture of more picture of the interior, but that's a pretty cool car. And, you know, I think that it's a standard and not one of the CVTs. It should probably have quite a bit of life left in it. And a hatchback, you know, very practical car. Probably throw a set of snow tires on this. It wouldn't be bad in the winter. A lot of cabrios on the block lately. Here you go, Celica GT 2.2 liter 5-speed, $1,500. Selling my 95 Celica, or a Celica, as the Brits say. 2.2 front-wheel drive, Toyota mechanic owned. Here, 200,000. Famously, you know, of course, Scotty Kilmer has his Celica, so what's going on there? The convertibles of these, I'm not that into, I gotta be honest, but I do love these. Yeah, what a throwback to the old Celicas of yore with these front mounted, you know, really forward mounted side mirrors. It's really cool, and I love the double headlights. Overall, pretty cool car. Very cool dashboard. Again, this big swooping line here, driver oriented. New Beetle. I do like those new Beetles, but I gotta say I like the ones before the facelift. They did this sort of like, I feel like the fenders got a little sharper, and I feel like it actually doesn't work that well. So, take a quick little gander here, and then I want to go to Vermont and see if this, now I do love, we saw another Rodeo, that was a 2-wheel drive, it was a 4-wheel drive. Title missing, that's not a good sign. Frame is solid. Rockers, welds on rockers. I just think, you know, for like a sort of boxy SUV One, just the Zuzu's kind of a funky. I remember someone in growing up had one of these, and I thought this four-wheel drive badge was one of the coolest badges I've ever seen, and I still love that thing. Now, I believe these are the same as a Honda Passport, but also again this like sort of cladding back here kind of just breaks it up. Very similar sort of concept as the Buick LeSabres, where it sort of just gives you this continuity of color, and it makes you notice the rest of the body more. No, very nice cloth seats. Carpeting's a little dingy, but carbureted. It's an Acura tape deck. It's pretty funny. I like this little vinyl wrap around on the sides. I like that very much. I like a headrest that has a hole in it. Just little classic touches, These center consoles were so funny. See these a lot of cars in this era. This big honking thing there. It's sort of like futuristic, but it's so bulky too that it just kind of looks out of place. Crank windows, I like that. Yeah, really cool cars. Oh, Mazda 6. Those are very cool. Oh, I gotta show you guys this. Ah, yes. Okay, 85 Camaro Z28, 3450. We affectionately call this car the Turd. However, it is not. It has a new Jegs 350 motor, rebuilt rear end, includes kicker stereo system, including subwoofer and amplifier, 5-speed, as if you're not attracting enough attention as it is. 5-speed manual. I remember they used to make CDs that were specifically made for people who had these really, I don't know if people still do it, in the 90s, like these just ridiculously bass heavy cars. It was the thing to show up in high school with your like giant bass. You could hear nothing but the bass rattling, and of course if it wasn't screwed in perfectly tight, the whole car's rattling. And I remember they made CDs that were meant to be played specifically to give you the highest bass possible. I don't know if they were remix tracks or what, but such a funny little niche, funny era. 5-speed manual with positive traction, Holley carb with MSD ignition. Both doors have been replaced and are solid, including both front quarter panels replaced. Runs great, very few miles on the new motor. Now, it's a little pricey, but if it is what it's advertised to be mechanically, now these black rims I really like because it looks like they do have some spokes going on, but it's almost like a Fiero rim, it looks like, and I like this sort of, I don't want to call it sidewall here, but the sort of outer rim, so it's kind of framed in there. So it's not just like a total blackout. But I do really use the whole storage space because there's all this taken up by the stereo here. I do really love this car. Again, I would do like a sort of a splatter. I would just like sort of literally throw some paint onto this car. And do like sort of a Jackson Pollock type thing on it. Boy, what a cool thing this would be. I do like these inset taillights, and this it's fun. I never noticed how much continuation there was between this and the generation that came after, these Camaros and Firebirds, but you can really see the evolution and how it took place. That's a very cool car. Take one more quick gander here, and then we'll go to Vermont and see if we can find this Civic I was thinking of. Dodge Daytona Shelby Z, that's pretty cool. Celica GTS, well, I gotta click on this just because this looks very, a body kit or what? IRS, 105 horsepower engine. No, Georgia car. Last year, that's a rear wheel drive Celica. I did not know that. 135,000. Man, for 4,400. 4,500, you could do a lot worse than this. It almost looks like a Fox body Mustang. Big honking pipe coming out the back there. This looks a little janky. Boy, that is 80s if I've ever seen it. Almost looks like a Cadillac Eldorado. Very funky. Ugh, well, not exactly my cup of tea. I do love a dash mat, which I find very funny. Shift boot, all sorts of jankiness going on here. But man, a little damage there. Pretty cool, pretty unique. Alright, let's go to Vermont now. See if we can find the golden goose. My Fiat X19 is a golden color, and it's I can never tell if I 100% like it, but I gotta say there's something about, and not like super chromy bright, and not a champagne light gold, but a solid gold car, I have to say is sort of an underrated color. It works well on a lot of different things. I'm kind of doing this in the wrong order, I suppose. Alright. Scion XB, that's a manual. This is hilarious. Great friend of the show, Shiftacular, has a second gen Scion XB, but I think these first gens are always, they're so boxy, I love it. And this in a manual is very funny. Just a little Toyota. Focus. Oh, here it is, still here, $1,100. Alright, first of all, this will be the finale, but real quick, this I think is a great buy. It says for parts, not registered, inspected, good running engine, fuel pump is bad, and windshield's cracked. Okay, well, it doesn't, I mean, I don't know what a fuel pump job on one of these RAV4s is, but these two-door RAV4s I predict will appreciate in value because they're such a funny looking car. I saw a four-door one of these just recently. Looks like they got a sort of a tracker there. They're into this type of thing. But I think these, again, like Suzuki, I think what the Suzuki Sidekick is now, or these trackers, these things will be in 5 or 10 years. I think these are, and they can't have made that many of them. This little line, just a little haunch there, nice angle there. I think these are so cool looking. They're almost looks like a shoe. But I think these they can appreciate value, especially when with a manual transmission. So, you know, $950, you're probably going to spend a couple grand getting it up to snuff, but, you know, very cool, very cool. These would look good in like a bright shade, like a yellow, maybe even paint the cladding too. Maybe not blue, bright green. I think these would look good in like a really vibrant color. But let's end with this. 1989 Honda Civic Hatchback DX, $1,100, 200,000 miles. Okay, so high mileage, but I have more than my asking price in the car. Don't want to sell. Prefer not to have it. So winter as I'm going out west. Tons of new parts, 5,000 miles on them. Receipts for new parts. Kept the old stock parts. Alternator, front control arms, ball joints, 2 new axles, clutch, flywheel, cold air intake, spark plugs, wires, children's sled rotors with pads, head gasket and intake, exhaust gaskets, fuel injectors, outer tie rod ends, new tires and valves, distributor cap, inner tie rod, in a box still the other. Now this is one of those things, oh, it comes with all these parts. Well, it might just be a complete basket case, but still. Side wheel arch, 2 new fenders and rocker panels, 3 extra matching rims, which is funny, why 3? Exhaust is straight pipe, which is pretty funny, where the muffler should go. Interior has front seats that are in rough shape. It is undercoated. I daily drove it a lot of the time, but I have 3 cars. Price only slightly negotiable, so that means $1,000 basically. If I don't sell, I'm the, I don't know what this is. Anyways, the gold color is very outstanding to me, and this is probably like, you know, my favorite era of Civic hatchback. I would actually like to see this with steel wheels, but you gotta admit those are pretty nice looking. Just a classic car in a great looking color. It sounds like they had some, you know, panels. So, you know, 200,000 miles, but for $1,000, really, I'm sure this gets fantastic gas mileage. So there you are, some great manual transmission, affordable cars here on Cruising for Cars with Corn. Brought to you as always by Janky AF, Janky Automobile Fabricación. Janky Do Thanky. See you next time.